When I finally did make the decision to come back to creating, I felt so far disconnected from what I was creating prior that I felt it so deep within me to literally delete that part of my life and move on in a fresh new way. I had an old YouTube channel with 30,000 subscribers at its peak, and I was monetized, making like a few $100 a month, and I gave it all up. Now, part of me obviously regrets it, but a big part of me also doesn't regret it, and I'm just gonna kind of walk you through the entire process of like how this channel kind of like fell apart, dissolved, all of that kind of stuff. I really feel like there's this push, this drive to get your channel monetized, make money off of YouTube, monetize your hobbies, and kind of promote that sort of hustle grind lifestyle, even though in my mind YouTube is something creative. It shouldn't be like a manufacturing machine sort of thing. And even though I am making YouTube videos now and like I'm still consistent with that, I'm not monetized, but it's still something I'm putting so much time and energy and effort into because it's just something I enjoy doing. And that's how it all started for me back in literally 7th grade. I think I was 11 or 12 years old. I was just inspired by those like OG beauty guru YouTubers who were posting like what's in my bag, back to school haul, back to school makeup, hair, outfit of the week videos, like those. That was my shit. I adored it, and I was so deep in on that. And then I started posting my own videos. I would post a lot of hairstyle videos. I really enjoyed also obviously hauling and outfit of the week videos, and that kind of like brought my channel to a height that I didn't ever think was possible. I was a style haul partner, another thing like I didn't fully understand, but like I just did. So yeah, I don't know. This was all something for me that was like pretty much all fun and games, and as a kid, like I was making money and it was like really cool to be doing that. But then came a point in my life where I was moving away from home, and this is when things really started to kind of struggle for me. At 18, I decided to move out right after graduation to go to New York City. 18-year-old me decided, okay, I'm gonna move to New York City, I'm gonna live there a year, I'm gonna become a resident, and then I'm gonna go to FIT for like fashion marketing. And most of that did happen, but also in the back of my mind I thought, oh, I'm just gonna like keep up with YouTube. That all fell apart when I actually moved because a lot of things hit me all at once. Like obviously I was 18 years old. I didn't move with like an actual job secured, not like a high paying one. Like I moved under the impression that my job at Forever 21 that I was at the time would transfer into New York City and I'd be able to work there. That didn't happen for like a month or so. And like obviously I moved with savings. I was pretty smart about how I was moving, but like when it came down to it and I needed to be making money, I was like SOL, and like Forever 21 fell through. I worked 2 shifts there, both 8 hours long with no break at all, and I was like, I'm not doing this. And then I like never showed up again. I like quit, and then I ended up getting a barista job, which was nice, but again very low paying. And I decided I was just gonna put my head down and grind and make money. And I ended up going to Europe like that next summer for like 2.5 months, which obviously was life-changing. But I think it's important to acknowledge a lot of change was happening for me. A lot of behind-the-scenes action was happening. And I'm just kind of explaining the background before we get into like my regrets, what I don't regret, just about getting rid of a channel that is making you money. This conversation about monetizing your habits kind of hits me as something that's like, yeah, if you enjoy doing it, why wouldn't you want to make money on it? But then here I am, literally, I deleted essentially a channel that I did enjoy making, and I'll get into why later. I first of all was not making money. I was grinding, hustling. New York is the absolute epitome of capitalism. It's hustle culture, grind culture. Whether you're at the top of the top or the bottom of the bottom, you are making things happen. You are hustling, whether it's for yourself or for your family, to put a roof over your head, feed people, and anywhere in between. People are working their asses off. That was a big reason. A lot of my free time was going towards making money to feed myself and pay my rent. And on top of that, I was culture shocked. I moved without a job, without any friends. I had met my roommates online, didn't really know them. And culture shock is what got me first. I felt like very disconnected from everything. I felt like I had been put into an alternate universe essentially. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself for a minute, for like a month or two? I would not leave my room. I was not willing to like explore. I wasn't going out. It wasn't until my aunt came in town and like wanted to kind of go sightseeing that I actually got out, and that was like 3 weeks into my move. And for me, I was like, okay, this is like too long. And I think it was also like the feeling like, oh my god, I might not make it, you know, and just the culture shock of like the city hustle and bustle and all of that. And then that led me to feel very depressed. I genuinely did not want to do anything except lay in my room and wallow. I had free time, but in this free time, I was just reflecting and ruminating and feeling anxious about my situation versus like taking action and going and doing something. And no one wants to create or make YouTube videos when you feel like that. Like, that is just not a good headspace to be in when you want to be a creative and making things and inspiring people and having a vision, having something to speak on. At that point, I was at my lowest low, truthfully, that I think I've ever been, like, in my life. And I couldn't understand why, because I was in New York. I was doing what I've always wanted to do. I was in the city. I was pursuing a higher education in the fashion capital. Maybe not exactly at that time, but I knew what my goal was. I knew what I needed to do to get there, and I still felt this huge disconnect. I didn't have any friends there. Obviously, I'd mentioned before, like, I grew close to my roommates, which is like a blessing because that doesn't happen for everyone, and we were able to go out and explore and do things together. But I also didn't have like the discretionary spending money to go out to dinner or go out to a club, which I wouldn't have been able to do because you have to be 21 to get in everywhere. So just a lot of things like weren't there for me that were at my home life. So it was very uncomfortable. And I'm someone who does thrive with a very set like structure and routine. So that kind of upended my life. And then on top of that, on a very personal note, I was dealing with a lot of things in my home life that were falling through. And essentially I had like run away from home, escaping all of those negative emotions, all the tension, all the fighting, all the yelling. Like, I just needed out. And when I finally got out, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was no longer in this like fight or flight mode. I had fought, and I didn't know what my next steps were. I didn't have like a helping hand in that regard. And yeah, things were tough for sure. Also, when I had moved, I was embarrassed to film. I literally didn't want my roommates to hear me because the walls were paper thin. I'm sure my neighbors could hear me. And I was afraid of being misunderstood because when you're new and you're in a different environment, you want people to like you. And the girl talking to herself to the camera in her room, like, that's not extremely likable, you know? I just wasn't in a good situation. I didn't set myself up for success in this creative aspect. So that was obviously a roadblock and a challenge that I then had to face and overcome. In the midst of that, I also just felt so far from my old self, even though that was only like a few months. But let's fast forward. I'm in Italy. I get this kind of creative mojo again. I feel the bug to make videos, and I'm in Italy. I'm sitting on the apartment terrace, and I think to myself, I'm going to restart my YouTube channel. I'm going to private all my videos and create an entirely new channel that better reflects who I am now. When I finally did make the decision to come back to creating, I felt so far disconnected from what I was creating prior that I felt it so deep within me to literally delete that part of my life and move on in a fresh new way. Part of me does not regret that at all. Part of me thinks that was the right decision to move on and do something that I felt more connected to and kind of had like a fresh, clean slate. Do I think I needed to move channels to do that? I don't fully think so, but I think in my mind it made it easier to kind of say goodbye to who I once was. And I obviously still have that content places, like it's privated, it's not fully deleted, but for the sake of like, can you search it and find it? Absolutely not. No, I made sure. And yeah, after having all of that privated, a few years go by, AdSense is like, your AdSense is expiring, you haven't made anything, and like I have fully kissed monetization goodbye on that channel and any hopes of like reigniting it. Regardless, I think getting rid of all of that content truly enabled me to shift into this new identity, shift into this environmental perspective. I knew I wanted to speak on environmentalism and sustainability and that whole lifestyle. Like, that's been something that I've truly had like a passion and a calling for since I was a child, and like all through high school, being a part of the recycling club or earth club or whatever you want to call it, and like leading parts of that my senior year, and like feeling even in New York the push for like a green city, and like seeing what they were doing inspired me. And I would have felt very hypocritical keeping that channel up and gaining lots of views on something like a Shein haul or a Romwe haul. Do you remember Romwe? Like, she's old, but she walked so Shein could run. I had videos like that, like comparing fast fashion brands, and I just really would have felt hypocritical and like guilty almost, even though you're allowed to shift and change. But truthfully, the internet is not so forgiving. Audiences see one version of you and think that's who you are. And I was very well aware of that, seeing like other YouTubers kind of go through their shifting phases or taking a break and coming back, and people not accepting them. And I was so young. Your perception of like what other people think of you means so much more when you're just an adolescent, like you aren't fully formed in the noggin to think like my opinion and what I think of myself and my value of myself is all that matters. I wasn't in that headspace. I was thinking like, oh, I can't come back and make completely different videos because everyone's gonna unsubscribe, everyone's gonna hate it, so I'm gonna beat them to the punch and I'm just gonna make a new channel anyway. And I did. And by the time I made a new channel and like made the announcement, I think I only had like 20 to 50 people out of 30,000 subscribed to me on my new channel. And that kind of told me everything I think I needed to hear. And that was like, I have the green light to reinvent myself because no one's watching anyway. And in that respect, I don't regret it at all. What I do regret is maybe giving up something in my New York journey and like moving out and becoming an adult that would have helped me struggle less. And truthfully, I think that's the only thing selfishly I wish I wouldn't have done, is get rid of a second stream of income, because times were tough. Times were very tough, and I didn't know the best way to elevate myself, to network, and that way I didn't really have much to offer other than like lots of great ideas and creativity. I didn't look at jobs that weren't part-time baristaing jobs because I didn't understand that YouTube video editing, content creation was a very valuable skill, even back then, even back when I moved out 2017, moving into 2018. So I just definitely regret giving up something that would have helped me along a little bit better. And that's truthfully the only thing I regret, though. And that is solely based on like the monetary aspect of things. I do believe this new channel has given me a fresh, clean slate in terms of what I stand for, my identity, what I want to teach other people, and showing myself that I can evolve. I'm never going to be a static version of myself. The internet makes it very hard for you to think that way, though, if you are a creator, if you are posting. Even on Instagram, like I know people that will delete old photos because they're like, I'm just not that person anymore. And I felt trapped by the person that I was. And I definitely wish I would have given myself the grace to evolve and not give an absolute what anybody thought. But unfortunately, I was so young. That's like where my headspace was. But it goes both ways. Part of me wishes I did keep that audience and evolved with that audience. So then my message of sustainability, environmentalism, curbing your consumption reached a broader audience of people that I kind of knew were already like-minded. Obviously, I did run the risk of like losing a lot of people. Maybe my channel wasn't going to keep growing, things of that nature. But also on that same token, now I'm able to grow with a completely new audience that I know is aligned with me. So it goes both ways. Life could have been very different for me, but I really appreciate the journey that I've had because I really think documenting everything, vlogging, having a camera, having to perform for an audience that maybe I wasn't aligned with would have really put me down a very different path. I don't think I would have branched off into environmental science and earth science as much as I did if I thought my career and my life is in the fashion industry, and not being a maverick in it, not being able to change it, not bringing different and new ideas and perspectives. Obviously, I don't know how it would have shaken out, but I do think that taking this like break and like restarting myself, even though like it's digitally, really did help me evolve outside of social media, because I wasn't performing for anyone. There were no expectations except what I wanted to do for myself. And that's the biggest thing of why I even moved on in the first place, so I could reinvent myself. And I'm so glad I gave myself the time and the space to be able to. And I think the way I'm approaching this channel is like I am always going to keep evolving, and I'm here to say that that is completely okay. And you can be here for that or not. It's up to you. It's not up to me to never evolve, never level up, never grow. And yeah, now that I'm an actual adult, I feel much more confident in my ability to choose what's best for me versus doing what I think everyone else expects of me. And it's pretty powerful. So if you feel like you need a rebrand, an identity refresh, and you're scared to do it because of what other people are think, I'm here to tell you, do not listen to them. Do not give an absolute about what they're going to think, and do you. If you're being held back by people in your life that are observing you and you're following what they want instead of what you want, you're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to reach the highest version of yourself. You're never going to be able to pour from an empty cup. So what's going to help is if you fulfill yourself, and then you're able to help and heal others and pass along your gifts. Our gifts on this earth and in this lifetime are meant to be shared, and I believe one of mine is communicating a broader message of health, well-being, caring for yourself and the environment. And I truly don't think I would have been able to reach this realization as quickly as I did if I was on the path of solely becoming a content creator. I don't think I ever would have done that in the first place though. I love education, and I always dreamed of going to college, and I even have 2 degrees in 2 different areas because I just wanted to learn so much. I feel really proud about that and proud of myself for taking that initiative, and also traveling and learning new things. Like I did an internship in Florence for 2 months. I went to India for a month for yoga. Like I love learning, and YouTube is kind of an extension of that. I'm able to teach you what I've then learned, and we can learn together, and I think that's beautiful. But previously, I don't think I would have been able to do that. I think I would have been very straight and narrow in this one specific kind of box of like fashion influencer or whatever you want to call it. But I'm glad I broke the mold, my self-made mold, and here I am now explaining why I literally gave up a monetized YouTube channel. And people might think that's insane, but I felt it very freeing, and is something I'm glad I don't have to rely on, and I'm glad I'm able to figure out my own path and like what life has in store for me versus just signing myself away to something that I don't know if ever was going to be fulfilling long term for me. I've kind of wanted to talk about this for a very, very long time, and I feel glad that I finally did. And if you're an OG from my old YouTube channel, I will not invoke the name of the dead. You're never going to be able to find this old channel. Then hi, what's up, hello. I'm so glad you're here with me and you've watched me evolve over these past, 5 years or so, 6 years maybe I've had this channel now. So I'm really glad we could get into it together, and let me know if you are an OG. That would be so crazy. I have tons of sustainability, fashion, slow living content that you should stick around for. There's going to be a playlist at the end and a video recommended just for you should check out. I'll catch you guys in my next video. I upload every Sunday. Until then, don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet. Bye.